again, this will be a little bit earlier. These bigger things kind of made, and then work our way down to smaller things.
By the time we're exhausted.
Just get warmed up.
So we can't remember what you said this is going to be. I thought
This is going to be a basket.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this will be the bottom, just the vessel part of it. And it kind of looks like a pitcher, but it's too heavy to be a pitcher. No sense in making a basket too light, right? No think. I think, you know, weight with pots is always such an interesting question, because we always are wanting to make them lighter and lighter and lighter, because that makes us better with it, with our skill with throwing. But some pots should be lightweight, but most of the time our pots are, I think most pots are too light. They need to be a little bit heavier, so they're sturdy, you know, they can be beaten around a little bit. And there's a difference between it being like, if it's, you know, if the weight's not distributed right, the form, that's one thing, but it can be heavier, you know, if it's well made, well balanced. Right? But even like for baskets, I mean, I want the bottom actually to be pretty chunky and heavy, because then it'll, you know, blow over. They won't tip over.
I loved the basket that you showed us a picture of last night with that exquisite elongated handle. And I bet you were really glad to get that out of the kiln in one piece. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah, sometimes they move around a little bit. Those handles want to warp a little bit, or just, you know, melt off to the side a little bit. But sometimes that's why when I talked about them last night, they really are they're sort of a study of the structure of the handle, you know, of how that pulled handle, the kind of tension that builds up in the clay when you make it. And, you know, if you bend it too far and then try and bring it back, it loses that tension, you know. So you have to be real careful when you're making them, just to keep that rigidity, and it carries through into all handles that way. We always use a term called spring a handle. Spring a handle. Anybody ever heard that? It's good. Now you've heard it. I'd always ask everybody, did you ever hear that? No. Every once in a while I'll find somebody who's heard it though. Didn't you make that term up? Rick Pope made really nice handles.
You did a little workshop here once.
Oh, he did?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's his right up there. I see it.
That blue glaze came out of the ground over here.
Cobalt mine on site.
I'm being a smart aleck. You got it used to be here, did that.
We got one like that. We tried to bury it, but they keep finding it.
Yeah.
When was that? Were you here then, Catherine?
7 years ago?
Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2000, wait a minute, it was 2005 or 6.
Okay. Huh. Wow. Pretty recent.
I think it was 8 years ago.
Yeah. back door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna have to touch.
Yep. Yeah, I remember going over to Rick's one day when he was loading the kiln up, and he would glaze, like, he'd glaze one pot, and then he'd kind of stop for a while and have a cup of coffee, and then he'd take the pot, saunter across the yard, put it in the kiln, and he'd go back and glaze another one. It's just like that, like, oh my God. It's going to take like decades.
He becomes laid back, don't you think?
Yeah, but he, you know, he was, and it was a day like this, you know, he was enjoying it immensely. And I used to always feel like, I was always frustrated with that when he was around, but now I miss him terribly. I just miss that sensibility. I think about him a lot, actually.
He used to call because, you know, we both love to cook, and we'd say, okay, now, Catherine, run out and get how to make bread, you know, by so-and-so. I can't remember, but I have a couple of those volumes. He was always starting his sourdough, you know, the starter, and he nailed me down the starter. And he was really into life fully in many, many areas.
Did Dean get a flat roller?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Yeah, we were all jealous that he got that slap roller. But he deserves it. He doesn't have any place to put it. It's out in the barn, you know, but that's all right.
Is there one in the studio?
What's that?
Is there one in the studio? Is that right?
No, it's at his house.
Well,
Hope built a custom one. It's really cool. And Dean got it.
you should bring it to the unit.
What's that?
You should have it in the studio at the college.
It's too good for the studio. It really is, actually. It's a really great slab roller. It's all custom built. I think it's, I don't know how wide it is, 30 inches.
Oh, it's like 40. It's like 2 ping pong tables that go together.
Yeah, so beautiful. At Rick's memorial, the card that they had for him was him. You seen that card? Him sitting on the fishing boat.
Yes.
It says, "Don't let fishing get in the way of fishing."
Wonderful.
He's sitting on the riverboat.
You know, he died 2 years ago next week.
Yeah.
That's. Well, I could do this in one.
No.
Cool.
There's a flights go over there.
Okay, I'm going to do something kind of fun. I'm going to scale this down here just time-wise. I think we can make this work a little bit better. I don't have quite so much clay combing. We'll make it a little bit smaller.
You're just constant all the time.
Sometimes I go faster when I'm centering a little bit.
That wheel doesn't have quite the mock force of his goes.
This is
How long were you the director of the Gray?
14 years.
That's compared to teaching.
It's about the same, but no, they both have their share of headaches. That's for sure. You know, I don't know. I think they're, yeah, it's very different, definitely. But you know, I mean, there were lots and lots of headaches at the Bray, but it was really wonderful. And I'd say the same thing about the university too. You know, I mean, it really has its moments, but they're both really, they take a lot of work, both of them. You know, but I think that I have a feeling about a different kind of feeling about students than I do about the residents. I mean, the resident thing was much more of a mentorship kind of thing. It's like we were all working together, you know, and students don't feel like that at all. You know, that's a really different, it's a different thing, completely different kind of responsibility. And you know, it was, I have really great memories about it. I loved it, but I also it was definitely time for change. It was a long road.
Oh yeah, you were there a long time.
You got that whole studio built too, didn't you? When
Yeah.
you were there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I did all that single-handedly. No, I mean, I think it was one of those things where I was actually trying to get out of there right after the 50th anniversary thing.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of went through that. I was like, phew, thank God. But then we had all this momentum going, and it was like, okay, we got to do this. It's perfect because we had the right board together. We had all this interest from the community, and it's like everything kind of fell right into place. We couldn't not do it almost. You know? It's sort of like how our university president just built a $10 million extension on the stadium.
Right.
We were so pissed at her,
Yeah.
but she couldn't say no. Like, they raised that money in about 20 seconds. You know? I mean, she couldn't not do it.
I was kind of curious if you were like, when you're transitioning from Bray to college, were you looking for somewhere in Montana to teach?
Honestly, I wasn't looking for that at all.
Oh, okay.
We had the house in Bozeman, and my mother, my dear old mother, was 80, in her mid-80s and getting close.
Right.
We knew, and so I kind of, I mean, that combined with that we did have some property there. We you know, we got the house at the Bray, the chicken coop.
Yeah.
They gave that to us as part of the package, right? I like that Romano hard. That's good. But just, you know, cheese is. Oh, I love cheese.
Lots of cheese.
It's got such a range. I remember a friend from France, when he first moved to America, and he went in the supermarket, and he went to the cheese section, and just started crying.
Did you see the travel program Rick Steves in Paris? And he's got a woman who runs a restaurant that he goes shopping with her in the morning. They go into the cheese shop and she says, oh, the cheeses, they smell like the feet of angels.
That's hilarious.
That's a good line. That's a good line. So this is at a good stage for doing another thing here. I think it's a little bit dry, but I'm going to do a denting process here. Ah, noise.
Wow, look at that.
One side gets one and the other side gets two. Because one side is not like the other.
Is that like a half-inch stick?
No, I think it's only about, yeah, 3/8. So it's just to change the stance of that top a little bit. And this thing, this kind of lobing thing is, the timing is important because if it's too dry, they'll crack, and if it's too wet, they want to just collapse on themselves, and they don't look very good. And so, I think, everybody knows this too, if you've worked with clay a little bit. It's just the timing, the way timing works with how the clay dries, and when you choose to do something to it, is just, that's what it's all about more than anything. That sense of touch about it. I always tell students in the beginning class that they'll spend all semester learning how clay dries. That's all, I just want people to get kind of a feel for that. So everybody's always saying, well, how long do I have to leave that out? Say just long enough.
That's the main reason too why the ceramic studio needs to be open as much as possible. So
Yeah.
you can come and manage the drying.
Yeah. A good way to make like smaller batches of clay too.
Yeah.
Test batches of local clays. Plunge it
Next
out.
time you come, we'll go digging.
Okay.
I got a back
Yeah.
This is a little bit damp, but I want to get one handle going on here so it'll start to set up, because I don't know, what are you guys doing tonight?
We got a thing.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Over Catherine's, yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much time passes.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
So again, this is the wonders of nice box clay. None of that wild clay crap.
Do you like it to be a little drier for handles?
Yeah, a little bit dry. I mean yeah, a little stiffer. But this stuff isn't that you can feel how stiff that is on here. This feels just about perfect.
Is this Laguna?
Yeah, but when you buy a box of clay, sometimes it's been sitting in a warehouse for a while and it's dried up, or you know what I mean? Sometimes we've gotten some that's too soft and some that's too dry. Even though it's, theoretically supposed to be a consistent product. It's pretty consistent. The Laguna stuff's pretty consistent compared to the Brea stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those guys are terrible.
I really like the Brea. There's like a dark brown, I forget what it's called. Like a dark brown cone 5 that I buy from the Brea that I really like.
Is that
But people have complained about that clay.
M390.
is that M390?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they
That's
complain?
a Plainsman clay
Yeah, it is.
that we sell.
Why do they complain about it, Cynthia?
Just how it kind of like fractures in the middle. Like you have to wedge it a lot on the wheel. It breaks, horizontally breaks on you like a lot.
Yeah, we just import that one.
What'd you say? It's a plain view club? Is that
Plains-
what you're talking about?
Canadian.
Plainsmen. It's
Canadian.
Canadian.
Plainsmen. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay, you were talking about that earlier.
You know those Canadians.
Yeah.
You can't trust
Yeah. It's their fault.
Their clays actually are though kind of thixotropic. You know, they're kind of rubbery.
Yeah.
A little bit rubbery.
Yeah. What'd you call it?
Yeah.
Thixotropic?
Thixotropic.
Yeah.
Good word.
Isn't that a great word?
Yeah.
You know,
Neph?
my other really favorite word in ceramics is eutectic.
Oh,
that word?
yep.
Yeah. And flocculation is always
Yep.
good.
Yep. Wait, what was that first word?
Thixotropic.
Thixotropic with an F?
Yeah. No, it's TH.
Yeah. Thixotropic.
But it's related to flocculation.
Flocculation I'm familiar with.
What, you mean people do that in public?
They do. Oh
Is
yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Haven't had time to read
What
it.
was
Get
the
ready for
middle
this
word?
listening artist.
Eutectic.
Haven't had any leisure time.
Yeah. You know what eutectic is?
No.
So eutectic is it's a chemical, like I think it's what you call the chemistry term, where it's sort of the word about the phenomenon of fluxing or melting, where you have two different materials that melt at a certain temperature, really hot, but if you put them together, they form a eutectic and melt at an earlier temperature. And I like to make the comparison with people. Like you get a couple of duds, right? But when you put them together, it's like fire.
Party planning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like a good dinner party, right? Who should we invite? What temperature are we firing to?
This is amazing. I didn't think anything was going to go on now. Crazy.
So when you put that on, I always like that term to screw it on there too. Really kind of wiggle it on there. It's got kind of a There's a book of black and white photography of seed pod stuff. Carl Blossfeld, I think his name is. You know
I
that
think
book?
I've seen that. Yeah.
It's all these really great black and white photographs of natural forms, like sort of details of seed pods and leaf forms and stuff opening up and curling and making really beautiful, spiral Fibonacci imagery that happens in nature all the time. And it's sort of I think about that book a lot. I'm going to have to get it and learn the name of the guy because I reference it all the time. And I always look out to see if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Usually they don't, which is a phenomenon I'm used to quite a bit.
The younger the students
As
are,
long as you
especially.
know.
Like, telephones. Remember telephones? They're plugged into the wall.
Yes, machine.
That you had to be home.
Rotary dial. There we
You
go.
had to be home to answer.
Those are phones that you can knock someone out with.
My gosh. Look at that. Very cool.
When I was an undergraduate student in Kansas City, I got into making basket forms for short period. Like there's one semester when they wouldn't let you work on the wheel, and it was really hard for me because I love the wheel. I've always been on the wheel. But I had a good time working with slabs and building these big kind of goofy sort of Fred Flintstone basket things and raccooing them. They were pretty cool. And then I just kind of completely left the basket form for a long time. And then, but I started getting interested in it again. Just that thing about capturing all that negative space, you know, and how the handle can capture all that, reach up and grab all this space, you know. I think it's a great form to play with. And then also, I think the other thing was that I've always, you know, I wanted to kind of think about some other, always been interested in that thing about that, the structure. Like when you pull a handle, when you're pulling a handle, like you're doing this thing with all the clay particles on the surface of it, right? And you're kind of building up this strength in it, I think, compressing it. And that tension, that phenomenon that happens when you do that and then you bend it, you know, and that arc that happens from that bending. And that's mostly what these things are about too. I also had, you know, one other kind of notion about them too was going into the Met. You ever heard of the Met? There's this museum in New York called the Met. It's pretty important. You can hear trumpets when you go in. Like this is like the empire at its best, right there. You walk up the steps for decades, and then finally you get to the top and you come in. But you know, the Met's not typically a place where somebody would have a show, right?
Not anybody living.
I haven't been asked to say it.
I should Picasso.
So, who has a show there? Solo exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Betty Woodman.
I was just thinking of her from Denver, originally from Denver, yeah.
Had a solo show
Well,
at
she
the
is
Met.
working exclusively in New York City now, so I'm not surprised. And she did all those Italian, your work is very reminiscent of hers, or, you know, vice versa.
She's amazing.
She's a powerhouse, you know, she's been
Didn't she
doing it
do-
for really
What's that?
Didn't she do that really low fire?
Yeah, she does. I mean, she's done a lot of different things. She's made incredible stoneware pots, and she does sculpture and does. But one of the coolest things was walking into the foyer of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and there's these two huge Betty Woodman
they're big
vessels
now, they're real big.
with these like bouquets of flowers that were as big as this room. Like, you know, the trumpets were like, boom, boom, boom. Wow. So, someday.
You'll have an exhibit of handles, right?
Yeah.
With trumpets.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the Metropolitan did like
They don't.
living artists and
They
stuff.
have really
Yeah.
cool musical.
They don't, but somehow Betty talked them into it. Yeah, she's amazing.
She doesn't have the kind of work that you could go like just hang, you know, install, covertly install your own work, you know, and leave it.
Rosie and I had the fortune of visiting her place in Italy one time, and she has a place in New York City and a place outside of Florence. And
Too bad.
yeah, it's pretty, you know, but they got it
Slumming
like a long time ago and they got into this thing for, I don't know how they did it, but they did. But it's in this little town outside of Florence that you go way back up on these little roads, way back up through all these olive gardens and vineyards, and you're like, God, we're in the middle of nowhere. It feels like it's like going out to your house. Go down this little.
This is rare even for this
Wait to
valley.
get you all out there.
Go down this little porch and open up this door, you know, and there's all these gardens, and then you look out and it's one of those scenes of Florence, you know, like you see with the Duomo
Cypress.
there and all these. Oh, it's really beautiful. A nice spot. I know. You know,
This
somebody's
is that
got.
time of winter when it's like, even the vicarious thought.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony. That's the Tony Dodge I was telling you about.
Hi, Tony.
I actually only got a few minutes, but I did have to stop by. I'm amazed to see it turn out like this.
Isn't it great?
It's so incredible. What
Yeah.
Cynthia's done for the Arts Council's program here
What you've done.
is really phenomenal. I mean, everyone.
We wouldn't have a building without you. We'd all be sitting in gravel. We'd be out on a picnic table there.
You know, Betty Woodman started out with this little house, ranch house in Boulder, Colorado, and I remember visiting her, and she sold a lot of teapots and a lot of little mugs, and, and everything was all over the lawn, and we all went and looked around and bought.
Nice.
But she was, you know, just.
Did you buy something back then? Damn.
I was a poor college student then, you know. But she started out very, you know, humbly. You
Very
know.
humble. Yeah.
She really did, and then now she's making these.
Didn't she used to teach that old firehouse that was up Boulder Canyon?
Yeah, she wasn't really part of the university. She just kind of took off, and she had some connections with the guy that was running the art, you know, the endowment, National Endowment for the Arts. She got a big break with that. Yeah, you know.
$50,000.
The
Well,
endowment.
she did. She got a lot of, you know, push from that, and she was able to make that connection. She was never really part of that.
Oh, okay, no problem.
And I figured out.
His wife is like, you know what she's doing? My life.
Look what she was.
Those are the ones that are like joining them.
Yeah.
I love
They
those.
moved, you know, saying something.
Oh, love that.
Oh, but that's going.
Look at that.
Love that. Very simple, like almost.
Oh man.
Gorgeous. That's so sweet.
It looks like Art Nouveau.
It does. It does.
You don't trim the bottom, do you, anyway? Or anyhow, you can't.
Yeah, that's really fun. That's tomorrow though.
I mean, you know, I figure you got a 2-inch base there that's thick. I don't know if you cut into it.
Yeah,
That's a different process.
it's definitely, but it definitely gets a little bit of trimming on the outside.
Oh, George, that is just gorgeous.
That looks like a leaf, you know, of this budding. Right.
It does.
It's missing a piece.
It looks like
What?
one
It's
side
missing a
is
piece.
What do you mean?
Well, one side is very
No,
masculine,
this
and
one's,
the other is very feminine.
this is right where it's supposed to be, right now. It's got to dry, and then it gets more.
Because it's, yeah. I wonder if he intended that, or if it's just me.
Well, I think he's gonna build more.
Is he? Oh, okay. Okay. I love that.
Put the old dryer on it.
You've run out of time though.
Where's the bear?
Really? What time is it?
4:15.
And what time are you supposed to go to? 4? Really?
You can go
You
whenever
can
you want.
leave.
What is it? Oh,
I thought we had till 5.
that's fine. That's fine. We're happy.
Okay.
Nobody's
Let's
kicking
do
me out.
one more handle on this one. Sometimes these will go and like there'll be, you know, another handle, another handle, another handle, another handle. They can go on up into infinity. But in the interest of finishing today,
Very cool.
we'll do a little bit of an
Very
abbreviation.
cool, the bear. I'm glad the bear wasn't stuck to the Buddha even.
The bear wasn't stuck to the
The
food.
bear was facing the Buddha. And I was looking at the kiln and I'm like, they looked like they were engaged in conflict. I was so worried for a second there.
So it's gonna have leather in there, if you can hold it or not.
I'm gonna make somebody else unload the Buddha out of the kiln so I don't do a whole nother level of damage to myself.
Where's Doug? There he is.
Buddha is it? Yeah, you should unload it.
Off a little bit. Yeah, I've just got this back thing going on that's so bad. I think I actually aggravated it loading it in, right? You're reaching across. Big time. Or I could just live in the kiln for a while.
That heat, yeah, that heat will probably be like heat therapy there. Hot yoga. Do your yoga in the kiln.
Yeah. I meant the Buddha could live in the kiln, not me.
Oh!
But you know, that cheap rent. It's like when we built the chicken coop at our house, my husband and I looked at it and we're like, better get the chickens in because some of our friends might want to move into this thing.
I lived in a chicken coop.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Rick Pope lived in a chicken coop too.
Well, it was a bigger coop than we have.
Slightly.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Like a real chicken house.
I built a chicken house for John Buck and Debbie Butterfield one time when I was working for them. That was really deluxe. Like insulated walls and everything.
Wow.
Wow, I know, it was crazy. It was pretty first class.
I built a chicken coop on
I
wheels.
wonder what it looked like after
Really?
the mice got to it or whatever. My husband built a beautiful lean-to for the horses, like really overbuilt it, just really nice. I mean, the horses have chewed the crap out of it. It looks like beavers have just attacked it. Doesn't pay to overbuild your outbuildings.
Is that what convinced you, John?
And kicked a few holes in it too. That's a really funny part.
Oh, look at this thing. Is that just going to be magnificent? Yeah, amazing.
So at home I usually have a few of these. When I make them, I make a series again, you know, so you got a number of them going one time. And then the I usually have the bottoms all cased in plastic, and then I have these weird little things coming up out of the plastic. It looks like cranes in Shanghai or something, buildings going up.
The handles kind of remind me of bones.
Yeah, they're pretty bony, definitely. Or wisps of smoke or something like that. I've heard both of those analogies, and I like the bone thing quite a bit.
So are all four of you like ceramics majors?
Yeah.
Yeah? No.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. Thinking about it, huh?
Don't do it, man.
Should he do it?
You can get out now.
Get out while you can, yeah.
I'm trying to give you some solid advice. What was it? Muddled forever after? MFA, muddled forever after.
I never heard that.
Do we have a day job or something?
Can't tell you.
There was a guy who worked in the studio for a while because he said he couldn't, like, because the majors at BYU Idaho had first priority for the classes. He couldn't get in on any classes over there, so he came down here to work.
You see what you've done.
Yeah.
That might just be the excuse.
Yeah.
Rich. He's like, yeah.
Nope, full again. All the majors get first priority.
Those darn majors. They're a problem around the world.
What?
A major problem.
Wow.
Yeah, it just seems like it just needs some other little element here, don't you think?
Yes, I do.
Oh, man.
Levitate in the meantime. You want me to hold that while you make
Yeah,
something?
you need Cynthia to hold that for you.
No, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm not needed. I'm out of a job.
That's very
Replaced by a wad of clay.
Want your seat back? Good, because I wasn't going to get up.
Okay. Just make a conversation, huh?
I was just going to say sorry.
I put a towel down and that was serious.
Oh.
Oh, look at that.
That's so clever.
Beautiful.
Try and make these attachments reasonably solid, because they as they dry and fire and do their number, they shrink and twist in all sorts of weird ways, and they like to come apart pretty easily. So I try and make sure that they're stuck together quite a bit. Oh man, I tell you, it's just sick. Just sick.
You're not going to slip and score that spot?
I learned from my friend Walter Keeler that you
Just
don't always
make it.
have to do that. I saw it in the video. It's on YouTube.
How about, have you ever used paper clay for attachments?
You know, I haven't gotten into paper clay so much, but I've seen it used quite a bit, and it's pretty magical.
Pretty handy. Pretty handy stuff. We actually Jeannie just brought us some Laguna paper clay to try out from Boise. Because we've been making our own, you know, but they say theirs that you can really throw with it real well. And
I have high water. You can throw with it really easy.
yeah, I think ours is just like our homemade stuff was a little too fibery or something to have imagined doing something with it.
Okay. Now this has to get trimmed. This is the fun part. What's this?
We're all about fun around
I
here.
know.
No, I'm just getting my.
You haven't used this white slip yet.
Oh, that's right.
Don't forget the white slip.
That's the one, the big pot.
That's not white.
That's the fun part.
No, but she has a white slip.
The white slip.
It's a buff, isn't it?
Yeah.
White on white's pretty nice.
This white slip's a lot whiter than that clay.
Don't want to go too far. Boy, would that be bad.
Let's not end the day on a tragic note.
No. Okay, that's what that one looks like. And then sometimes come back in and put some of these lines back in that get trimmed out. I like this tool. It feels like a caveman.
That's cool. Did that come from Korea too?
No, this one came from the free box at Pottery Northwest. Wally Bivens land. He related to you?
There's a Wally Bivens too?
Yeah, same spelling as me and
okay.
Nicholas. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not as cool as Wally.
Because there's the Tom Bivens that's isn't that spelled differently, the other one?
That guy he's really cool.
Nobody's as cool as Wally.
Yeah, I won't ever be that
But just to share his name is pretty good.
guy. That's the coolest name I've ever heard for a last name anyways.
It's pretty good. It's pretty
Wally's
good.
a pretty fun first one.
Yeah. Okay, hang in there. We're so close. So close.